Is there anyone here to give a public comment?
Okay.
Moving on, Cassandra Borchers is going to help us out with the next item.
So every year we look for opportunities to add some new interested people to our committee, and we put out a call for new applicants. And I think we've talked to this committee before about those of you who have terms that are ending, those of you who have terms that are ending that you would like to extend, and some that are termed out. So we have done our recruitment for next year, and we have some of our new TRAC members who will be here on the committee starting in January, but they're here today, so we'd like to welcome them. And if I mispronounce your name, you can correct me today or later or quietly or loudly, it doesn't matter. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Cassandra Borchers. I'm the Chief Development Officer, and I help support this committee with Brad Miller, who's not here right now, but my teammate, Bob Lasher, who's our External Affairs Officer. And so we would like to welcome our newly appointed TRAC members for 2020. You just raise your hand, you have to stand up if you're here. Andrea Barron, who's representing South County. Lori Humple, also representing South County. Mary Young, who's going to help us with Mid-County. Roman Shubalko. Roman, nice to see you. He's our alternate business professional. Jason James, our alternate South County. And welcome back, Gloria. Gloria Levin-Corrigan, who will be alternate for North County. And unable to join us today is Fatima Ali, and she is also going to be representing Mid-County. So welcome to you all. This is a special meeting for us for a number of reasons, but it's our last meeting of the year. And so we'll see you all again in January. I hope, Marianne, you have things for these people?
Yes, they all have.
Oh, you all have your passes for December and January? Okay, good, excellent. And so, with that, we'd also like to express our extreme gratitude, right, to those that will not be coming back with us, whether they're being termed out, because they've been here
4 years.
4 years now. And so our appreciation for your dedication and your contributions and all of your participation, right? And we really appreciate your comments and your suggestions and all your good ideas. So please, if you have them, if you see that out in the world, you know how to get a hold of us. You've got a direct line right into the Heart Center, Marianne. And so our members that are leaving us will be Elizabeth. So thank you. I don't even have to move for this one. Sue. Thank you, Sue. And Tim. Thank you very much, Tim. Camille is also resigning from the committee. She's moved out of state, so we'll send her certificate and her little holiday gift, which you all have. So something from the PSTA staff to you for all your hard work this year, and we'll look forward to seeing the rest of you after this meeting, but with the rest of you for the rest of this meeting and in January. So thank you all very much.
At last month's board meeting, the board voted to approve the purchase of 20 trolley streetcars with technology equipment, an interlocal agreement with the city of St. Petersburg for the project assistance with the BRT project. An agreement with the FDOT for the right-of-way assistance on the BRT project.
So for those of you who don't know, this is the chair always gives a report about what happened at the board meeting. And so Elizabeth as the chair, thank you so much for that.
And I've got on my page, it helps me out.
Yes.
So,
So we did bring to the board an action item for new trolley buses, so those will take a little while, but they'll come in a couple of different batches, and those will be put on the CAT and the Suncoast Beach trolley, so we're excited about those. And the BRT project is moving forward. So the agreements that Elizabeth mentioned are for the city of St. Petersburg and FDOT to help us with right-of-way. And so we won't necessarily be looking for too much, just really bits and pieces and easements for the station locations.
Can I say that trolley announcement, I was surprised on Facebook, got pushback that there were people, of course, there's people that if you say good morning will argue with you. And I just want to say that I thought it was a great idea. It has to be done. If you were to privatize the trolley, it would have a whole different thing. I mean, there's people, and again, everyone has like elbows, everyone has opinions. But I want to say that I thought it was a great idea and was just shocked. It just seemed like such a common sense solution that it was weird for me that anyone would be pushing back negative. So if you, as representatives of TRAC, you should make up your own mind, but let me chime in that it was a great idea as a TRAC person. And if you hear that, you know, it was part of our role is to also help. Thank you.
in addition, the board approved the 2020 federal and state legislative priorities. So that's the kind of thing that goes on the Wednesday board meetings. And next, Board Pinellas report. Duncan Kovar's report on the October 24th CAC meeting.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Duncan.
My monthly pleasure to give you 5 minutes on, because I'm the liaison between TRAC and CAC, the Citizen Advisory Committee, to Forward Pinellas. And by the way, Forward Pinellas has liaisons up to T-BARTA, so we all sort of keep an eye on each other. I happened to miss the November meeting because I was up in Washington, although I will tell you it was a pretty standard meeting. They did a review of this tremendous plan. You guys, if you want to tap to it, it has every single sidewalk, curb, stop sign for the next 10 years because we have 23 government agencies in Pinellas. If someone says, wait, I got to delay this, then Largo and Seminole all have to get their act together because once you start laying out a sidewalk, you can't do a third of it. You want to get everybody together. And so this consolidated plan is out there. We got in some trouble about pushing back on FDOT. FDOT came and gave us a presentation, and they sent, I don't know, shall I say, like Little Red Riding Hood to read it because they knew it was going to not get a very good hearing. And then later said, well, you guys were mean to the spokesman. And so, Gloria, if you could, if it's all right.
Yeah, no, that's fine, yeah, because I'm on the CAC as well. And what Duncan was saying, they came from FDOT to the Forward Pinellas CAC meeting, and we asked some very legitimate questions, and they kind of weren't comfortable with us doing that, but the legitimate questions were the fact that so much of the way the funding stream works for FDOT is it really favors those rural counties where they can put in lots of super highways. And counties like ours, and like we talked about, like West Palm and Miami-Dade and stuff, where it's much more urbanized, we really can't take advantage of some of the funding streams that come out of the main things that come from FDOT. But Duncan wanted me to tell you all, what we did was we ended up with a subcommittee. We said, wait a minute, there's got to be a better way. Can we send a note back to FDOT? And we did. Our subcommittee basically sent a note to them that said that we really need to have the flexibility for counties like ours and for Hillsborough and so on, so that we can take advantage of FDOT dollars as well. And as it turned out, there are some monies that we really can have for the county, and the whole trick with these different buckets of money they have. Well, one set of monies that's available to us, if we come up with a quarter of the funding, then 3/4 of it, 50% will be covered by the federal government, and another 25%, or am I doing it backwards?
That's right.
25% is the state. And so for every quarter that Pinellas County puts in, 75 cents comes back to us. So the bucket of money was that there was $28,000, or $28 million, excuse me.
Yeah.
Sorry, my mistake. And all we had to come up with is 7, I'm doing it backwards.
Well, anyway, yes, you get the
Yeah.
idea.
The
Everyone
point
gets the
is,
idea.
yeah, quarter.
So that is the funding that we are getting for the Central Avenue BRT. There is a pot of transit capital dollars up at DOT. But the first part of your discussion, which was about the way that FDOT takes the money that they get and distributes across the state, was absolutely correct. FDOT has a policy of maintenance off the top, and so if you notice, you go to other states, how their roads just aren't quite as nice. We have some of the nicest roads in the union, and that is because of FDOT and their maintenance policy. Second is the strategic intermodal system, which is primarily the interstate system, ports, seaports, and Amtrak, and very little public transportation in it. They do give us block grants that goes into our budget, and those block grants are used for operating dollars. But the specific funding source that you're talking about is reserved for major capital investments. So when they say that it's 75%, is the locals put in 25% of the capital, that is not for the operating, for the capital, and apply for federal grants, which is what we did for the Central Avenue BRT. We applied through what's called the Capital Investment Grant Program at the federal level. And when we get that, there is another funding source at the state, which, I know this is going to sound strange, helps the project at half of the non-federal share, right? So in this case, 50% federal, 25. If it was 40% federal, we could apply for 30 state, 30 local. So it's where that local funding comes from that is the most critical part to funding and expansion of our system, both in terms of vehicles and capital infrastructure. The other side of that is the operating. So the operating is 100% local. And so when we come to the table with a new project like the Central Avenue BRT, we're coming to the table with the 25% of the capital plus 100% of the operating. And so that's the part, and we can absolutely dive deeper than that into federal and especially the state funding. FDOT is a great partner. But you're right, the structure isn't set up to support non-road projects as well as road projects. And that is very evident at Forward Pinellas that does the federal prioritization of money for Pinellas County.
Right. And when you hear that money is going first to freeways and then to widening non-freeways or cutting new so it's like, yeah, we can get some money for Curlew if we're putting another lane on Curlew, but if you're just trying to repave it or if you want to run a BR, anyway, the point is we were pretty upset about that. And after the letter was drafted by our subcommittee and then voted by the whole four of us, including Gloria and I and the CAC president, went down to the Forward Pinellas board, and I'm going to send you guys the link because, of course, it's on YouTube. And if you scroll, it's a 2.5-hour meeting.
Send it to Mary Ann and.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. I wasn't going to do it. I'm going to send it. And but there's a middle of about 5 minutes where you can hear us advocating that FDOT fundamentally change itself. And we were yelling at the poor guy who came with the presentation, telling him,
No, we didn't.
well,
No,
okay, yelling,
no. We're very nice.
strongly encouraging that it was fundamentally flawed. That if you collect your money from gas and from tolls,
Jensen?
everything is about,
Yes.
we need more cars to drive around and burn gas. And you said, well, and we need more toll lanes, that's where we're gonna get our money. And gee, if we're gonna spend this money, what should we spend it on? Well, more roads and more toll roads especially, because that's where we get our money. And you're like, no, this is wrong. And so that's what we were advocating in the letter. And the other lesson from this was when the citizen group of Forward Pinellas was mad, what did we do? We wrote a letter, and then we sent some people to the board to read it. And I want you guys to see it because that board stood up and listened. They were in total agreement, and the proof will be in the pudding.
Whether it happens,
But they said, we want to act on that.
They understood transit mattered. And that
Yeah.
was,
It's
it
very
really mattered.
powerful when you all show up
Exactly.
at board meetings. It is
So-
very, very powerful.
Never say, oh, what can we do? No, what we can do, make a subcommittee, write a letter, bring it back, vote on it, and then we'll send a couple, 3 people up to that Monday morning meeting and read it to them, and they'll listen. They listen, and that's why I want to send that link. 2.5-hour meeting, but the 5 minutes in the middle are very, very powerful. That's all I want to say. If I can add,
Please.
this month, while I was there, let me thank Nicole, because you last month said there's a presenter, Peter Kawagasha, and I ran right down to the Dolly from last week, and he did a great thing. He's a St. Pete author, CNU. He wrote a book called How to Love Your City, and he loves St. Pete, and he was talking all about the wonderful things he's seen here. Then I went up to the Washington Transit Conference, and they were talking about safe streets, and there's been a big push both in Louisville and here about schools and the danger of large schools. And why would I bring that up in TRAC with transit riders? Well, schools have this pressure of let's make our schools bigger and bigger and bigger because we can have AP and then we can teach kids Latin because we didn't have enough kids. But then what happens is you can't get kids to schools because you have 5-lane entryways and you have mothers lined up a mile. And it's dangerous to get kids to schools. Well, we're starting to say, well, we want safe schools. And that's what has been the push. Well, if you have safe schools, now you can start having transit. Kids take buses to magnet schools, so your mom doesn't have to drive you across the county. It has pushed, the pendulum is coming back, and neighborhood schools, walkable neighborhood retail, anything big is bad. That's what we need to be saying here. If it's a super mall, if it's a super church, if it's a super school, if it's a super outlet mall, anything big is bad because that makes you drive your car to it, park in a mega parking lot, and walk to that thing. If it's small, you walk to it. And then now that you've got this all distributed, how do you get between them? How do you get between them? Because you don't own a car with a bus or a train or a light rail or a trolley car. And we're seeing America flip. And one of the pushes of all the things, I just never saw the tail wag the dog, was safe streets for kids.
Yeah.
And I'm just listening to him, and about 30 minutes into it, I was like, oh my God, you guys are talking about buses. I just had no idea. It was a great presentation. It was Peter, I lost his name again, I'm sorry, it was Jeff Speck down at the Palladium, and then and so just be listening to that. Small means transit. Distributed, small church, small shoe store, small coffee shop means transit. There you go. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Action item. Has everyone had a chance to read and review the minutes from October 15th? And I think I heard something just before the meeting started. Duncan, did you find something in the minutes? No? Looking for edits on October's meeting. If not, we need a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve it.
I got one here and I got another one. All right, we have, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Just ask if there's anyone opposed.
Anyone opposed?
Anyone opposed?
Oh, there you go.
Now the motion is passed.
Unanimous.
That was my last chance and I'm on it. Thank you very much.
And you know, Kim can give you some advice, maybe in a year to get another shot at it.
Yeah. I'll eventually get it. Okay, next, Bob Lasher is going to talk about opening the nominations for the chair.
Yes, this is time of year when we elect the new officers, chair and a vice chair. We just, simple vote, simple majority vote. First thing we do is we'll take nominations. So we'll start with the chair. Do we have any nominations for the chair?
I'll nominate Duncan Kovar.
Okay, Chelsea nominates Duncan Kovar. Any others?
Thank you. It'd be my honor.
Yeah, I guess I should have asked first.
Yeah. Accept the
Thanks, Bob.
nomination.
Yeah, well, wait, it's not a draft, it's a nomination, yes.
I nominate him as well.
Sorry, I think you drafted.
Everybody was gonna pick on Duncan, so.
Okay. All right, any other nominations? All right, so now what we need to do is we need to Actually, we need to take a vote. It's not so much a motion to approve.
It's by,
Take a vote, yep.
Yeah.
Take a vote.
So we have to have a vote, so
Motion.
if you like, call everybody who approves for Duncan Kovar, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah, and anybody opposed, say nay.
Any opposed?
There you go. All right, so
Yay.
Duncan's going to be your new chair.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for drafting him. And now we'll do is pretty much the same thing for vice chair. Open the floor for nominations for vice chair.
I think the farmer chooses, what's? Let me nominate Chelsea. Say thank you.
Any other nominations? All right, we will close the nominations. Now we'll take a vote on it. All-
We need a motion to approve,
I'm just gonna take a vote.
and we're just gonna take a vote, just like Bob
Motion to
is
approve.
trying to tell me, but I'm not getting it.
That's all right. Everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Are there any nays on that nomination?
Acclamation.
All right.
Motion passed. Okay. Congratulations. All righty. Information news. We will hear some good news from Jeff Thompson.
Good afternoon, TRAC members. Jeff Thompson, the Director of Transportation. Nice to be here before you this afternoon. I have a real great reason to be before you today. I've got a great experience that happened because of one of our bus operators and the cooperation of some of the bus riders as they did something that was real great over the last couple months. And we wanted to share that with you today. So I'm going to invite my bus operator of 16 years, Barbara Irizarry, up to the front here, and she's going to relate to you that experience. Why don't you welcome her?
Yeah,
Barbara.
Good afternoon, as you know, my name is Barbara. I've worked with PSTA for 16 years. I've been on many of the routes, but this time I've stayed on the Route 11 for 1 year. I actually love the Route 11 and all the passengers on the route. During this time, I've come to meet so many nice people. And in the first few months, I noticed a man that caught my attention. He's 83, and he would struggle to get off the bus with his groceries, so I would take his groceries and place them outside the door for him. I had found a shopping cart and asked Herb, would you like the cart? So I delivered it to his home. And when I arrived, I noticed some work needed to be done. Well, with my motto is you see something, you say something. And I could have walked away without even asking Herb, would you like help? The job was going to be a lot for one person, as we probably have pictures you can see. And one day when I was talking with Judy on the bus about how hard it must be to live that way, Judy gave me her number, as well as Hopeton, both riders on the 11, gave me their numbers and address. I picked them up and we went over to Herb's house. In fact, they told me that would be glad to help me. So actually, this was our third Saturday, which was just this past Saturday, we worked at Herb's house. To this day, we all keep in touch with Herb, and I want to thank Judy and Hopeton for being so generous, looking out for others, being a good Samaritan. What I say, if you see something, you say something. If you can help, help. If you see someone without a smile, give them yours. You just never know, you might have changed someone's day or life. And that's for Judy and Hopeton.
Judy and Hopeton, would you come up front here, please? behalf of PSTA and Herb and Barbara and everybody here on TRAC, we thank you for your efforts. Thank you for what you've done. We appreciate your help. And we have some bags of goodies for you.
Thank you.
Right there, okay. And if there are any questions, are there any questions from anybody? So we thought, you know, when we heard this story, it's like not every day that somebody goes out of their way to really take an interest in somebody and to do something that's this type of chore for somebody. We're all so busy today that sometimes we overlook things like that, or we would just look and turn away. But these two people here really showed that they cared about this person, and you know, they showed love for this person by helping Herb get his place cleaned up a little bit and making it better for him. And it's all because of the Route 11, right? So our Route 11 not only does it, you know, run from the lay-by out here down to Pinellas Point, but we help out people along the way, and it's because of our passengers like this. So thank you very much, both of you. Judy has one comment to make. Go ahead, Judy.
I just want to say that when Barbara asked me, there's times I've been down and out before, and it's like she had said, you never know. You could be in that person's shoes one day and wish that somebody would come along and help you. And when Barbara first mentioned it, I said, that's it. You heard of the A-Team. We are the Bus 11 crew. Me, and I'm going to paint on there. Bus 11 crew and right, number 1. And you know what?
You are.
We welcome anyone else to join our crew. Bus 11 crew. If you know somebody that needs help, just get with Barbara.
Thank you very much. We just thought we'd share that with you. Hope you enjoyed it.
You want to see yesterday's picture? You got to see this. I mean, saw that.
All right. That was exciting, and it's good to hear. But we're gonna move right on. Henry will give us an update on the electric bus charging station.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. For those that are new, my name is Henry Lukasik. I'm the Director of Maintenance here at PSTA. I oversee fleet and facilities. Good to see everyone again. Cassandra, how much time do I have?
You have 12 and a half minutes.
Okay.
Set, go.
So what I'd like to do is take this opportunity to just recap PSTA's all-electric bus program, and also bring everyone with an update as to the construction of a inductive wireless charger that'll be occurring finally at our PSTA Lay-by Transfer Center just outside our main campus. I know we've been waiting for that for a little bit. So, for those that are new, I'll give you kind of an update. And for those that have been here for the long haul, here we go. All right, 2 buses in service right now. All right, they're performing very well. I hope everybody has had a chance to at least ride those downtown at least once. And because they're doing so well, we have 4 more on order with an ETA of this time next year, fall of 2020. So when we talk about charging the buses, I get asked this question a lot, which is how do the buses charge? Where do you recharge them? How long does it take? So right now, we charge our buses here at our maintenance facility. All right, you can see in the pictures that we call them depot chargers because this is also known as the depot, and they are plug-in and they have a power capability of 80 kilowatts. Keep that number in mind. We'll come back to that in a second. Typically, when a bus comes back after being in service all day, usually comes back at about 40% state of charge. Think of that as the fuel meter for an electric bus. How long does it take to recharge? Approximately 2.5 to 3 hours, and then it's ready to go again. So 80 kilowatts is a properly sized charger for a quick turnaround of our buses each night. So let's talk about what we're going to be installing out at the lay-by. So you heard me mention a 80 kilowatt plug-in charger. When you look at this picture, you're probably seeing a plate in the road, in the concrete. So the type of charger we're installing at the lay-by will be a 250 kilowatt inductive wireless charging system. No plugs, all right? Nothing. And we'll get into what inductive charging means in a second.
I'm sorry, can you remind me where the lay-by is? Is that
I'm
on
sorry,
60?
it is
No, that's.
right outside our main campus, the transfer site right there.
Right, okay.
Internalized to us staff here, we
Right.
affectionately call it the lay-by for some reason. I don't really know why. Now, for my friends that like science in the room, all right, let's talk about what inductive wireless charging is, all right? So inductive charging is basic physics. There's 3 laws, okay? One is Ampere's law, which says that a wire carrying an electric current, okay, generates a magnetic field. Think of this as the wire, okay? The next law is Faraday's law, which says that a coil intersecting that wire, okay, can produce a voltage, all right? And then the last one is Tesla's law, which says that electromagnetic power can be channeled to another device and stored for use. So those are the 3 laws. Now, we've all seen these devices, right? Electric toothbrush. We see these nice charging plates, mats that you can put your devices on. I can tell you that is inductive charging in its simplest form. All right. Now, one thing I want to mention is that typically these devices, your toothbrush or your charging mat, is about 1 to 2 watts. 1 to 2 watts. The charger that we will be installing out at the lay-by will be 250 kilowatts, which is really 250,000 watts, right? I often get asked this question, which is, can I put my cell phone on that? Okay, could I recharge it? Well, the answer is no, you can't. It operates on a different frequency than your cell phone. But if you could go from a cell phone that had 1% charge to 100% charge faster than you could put it down on the plate and pick it up. And then it probably would melt down. But you can't do that, all right? But it'd be interesting if you could. So here's what it kind of looks like in a large-scale mobile application, mobile meaning the bus. Also, if you're into electric cars now, you're kind of seeing this technology. You can get it installed in your garage or at your driveway on a smaller scale. So there it is. So you see the plate that will be embedded in the concrete, right? That's where all the magic happens. And you see the picture up at the top. There is what we call a receiver plate on the bottom of the bus, right? Because you need 2 coils. So the electricity happens in the plate in the concrete, and then through electromagnetism is transferred to the plate in the bus. And then from there, it goes up into the batteries in the bus. There's some other components that live off to the side that will be installed, but they're very important. We have the power supply cabinet. This is essentially what takes the power from the utility pole, okay, and brings it down to the ground. And through there, all right, it is controlled by what we call the primary cabinet. Think of it as the brains of the system, all right? This is where all the logic happens. This is what detects if there's a bus. This is what communicates when the bus docks on it. And then a spot cooler. It's a big air conditioner, all right? Electricity generates heat, right? Same reason if you have a hair dryer, all right, in the morning, there's a coil in your hair dryer that produces the heat. So electricity produces heat. This is a lot of electricity, all right? So it must be cooled. The plate must be cooled and the components must be cooled. So out there in the concrete, let's talk about a little bit about the charging plate itself. The charging plate, and these will actually be what the construction site looks like when it starts happening. Believe it or not, it really doesn't take that much time to cut a big square in concrete and put some conduit in, so if you're not quick, you may miss it. They're gonna cut a square, and then they'll form a tub, and the tub will sit in the concrete, and that's where you kind of see at the top picture, you have all the stub-ups for the conduit and the cooling lines and the utilities. And then the plate will be set into it. So we have the charging pad tub, and then we have the primary charging plate. The next couple of slides I want to show you, these are from transit agencies in 2 different places in the United States. I want to show you a couple things. There's 2 movies here which show what will it look like when a bus comes in and docks with the station.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, this part I know about.
Sorry we didn't get you popcorn.
Okay, now here's the tricky part.
So that was very exciting. But why it's so exciting is the fact is that it's seamless. You
Yeah.
never know what is happening. So we have another video. So this comes from our transit colleagues out at Antelope Valley Transit Authority in Lancaster, California. This is actually at one of their transfer, it looks kind of like ours, doesn't it? They actually have 6 of these installed out there. All right, so that was so fast, all right? What I want to show you is, so that's what you see from the outside of the bus, okay? On the inside of the bus, and you kind of saw in the first video that the operator pushed a button. So in each of our electric buses, there is a console that's just above the operator, and that is the charging system. We call it a human interface module. It basically tells the operator what is happening at the time. So if you want to follow along with me, slides 1 through 6. So you saw the bus pull up to the pad and stop over it, okay? At that point in time, all right, the charger detects that there is a bus over that plate. The operator will be prompted to connect and charge, and it's a touch screen, so they will push the button. From there, the charger will now attempt to communicate with the bus, all right? Charger will say, "Are you there?" And the bus will say, "Yes, I am." Once that happens, all right, the cycle will start. Now, part of that cycle is the green circle represents the charge plate on the bus, all right? The plus sign represents the charge plate in the road, or the concrete. And what will happen is the plus sign will start moving around, just like in a video game, okay, centering itself, aligning itself, and once it gets a lock, all right, bus to plate, it will lock and it will start charging for as long as the bus will be parked over it. So the operator can always stop the process to leave, or if there is an issue, okay? If the bus leaves the charge plate, the charge process will automatically stop. So there's a lot of safety features built into the system. Now, as an aside, I do get a lot of questions as to, well, what happens if the bus is over the plate, it's charging, and a squirrel runs under it or something, will that pose any harm to those creatures? And the answer is no. The answer is no, all right? They're not going to come out the other side like a crispy critter. Keep in mind, this is through electromagnetism, all right? Believe it or not, there is electromagnetism happening in this room right now as we speak. For all of us carrying these, well, some of us carry two for some reason, okay? That is also putting out electromagnetism, so in very small levels. So the close to that is, this system has been tested, okay, to make sure that it functions within safe limits of people and animals and so forth. Now, here's the site plan. So, yeah, you asked earlier, where is this? So we've all seen this facility, right? This is right outside along 34th Street. Okay, construction is set to begin February 2020. Now, at least initially, all right, and when I say initially, really what we need to do is, I showed that we had to cut a big square in the concrete. So for that part of the process, that part of the installation, the entire lay-by will be fenced off and closed, all right? The reason being is that, as you know, the lay-by is a really one way in and one way out, and we're cutting a big hole on one of the lanes. The buses will not be able to get out. So this will be closed during that process, the process of cutting the hole, installing the plate, all right? And then once that process is done, okay, this site will open back up. We expect that that would probably be closed for approximately 1.5 weeks, 2 weeks to be safe. All right, the entire construction we're estimating is going to take about 8 weeks. Now, while this is closed, okay, and stay tuned for passenger notices and updates, but tentatively what we are going to do is in our main parking lot adjacent to the lay-by, we're going to construct a replica lay-by. It'll have shelters and trash cans and benches and pretty much everything you see at the real lay-by. And the one thing that we are going to keep open during construction is the public restrooms that are located right here. So most buses will enter and exit off 34th Street through our gates, and you can kind of see the tentative travel plan around the yard. So that's the tentative plan for that, but stay tuned. We'll have updates and notices for the passengers. And at that, I'd be happy to take any questions. Is that 12 minutes?
More like 13, but that's okay.
I have one question, real quick. How fast now, when y'all install that new technology, how fast will the buses be charged when it's
So,
installed?
good question. The point of this charger, we call it an en route charger, or we also call it an opportunity charger. So the reason why we call it that is because the bus will be there for only as long as the layover is, and that's the key to this. So one round trip a bus makes, all right, we always want to make sure that the bus is able to charge what it used. So we never get into a situation where the bus has a deficit of charge. So to answer your question, we have done some math. We believe that for every 5 minutes that the bus is able to charge, we can return approximately 5 to 6% of what it used. So we base that math off the fact that if we have an 80 kilowatt charger that's plug-in, all right, and we can go from 40% to 100% in approximately 2.5 to 3 hours, that if we almost triple the charging capacity, that we could probably, for the 5 minutes that we have, that's where we come up with that percentage.
Roman had a question.
Over here, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Are we going to end up expanding this to, like, say, the BRT or some of the other routes that aren't coming in here?
The electric buses or the charging equipment?
Both.
So I believe that if fortunes aligned and funding became readily available, that we would certainly expand our all-electric bus program. I do know that with the 4 buses that are coming in next fall, that we will be deploying them to other parts of the county on some of the other main routes that we do operate. So, in time.
And I heard somebody else. Go ahead, Duncan.
First off, I can't help but think, by being right here in the lay-by, if anything goes wrong, we can pull something right out of stock, and this one doesn't charge. We've got backup buses sitting in the garage. I remember there were other solutions. There was a top charger, and there was, I was on an electric bus in Louisville, and it had to stop and wait, and they actually let the passengers off to go have a smoke, and it was really weird. I mean, we were truly like driving down 19, and out of the blue, we just stopped, and it was horrible customer service. I mean, and do you know about these other technologies? Is that why we picked this particular technologies? The other ones, could you help me with that?
Yes. So
compare and contrast or something for me.
right. So there's two different charging solutions when we talk about en route, away from the depot. There's the inductive, and then there is what you call overhead.
Yes.
Now, you see those differences, and that goes all the way back to which type of bus and what their design was. So originally, when the first all-electric buses came out, and I believe I saw the first Brand X electric bus 12 years ago, it got 1 mile of range on a state of charge. And the idea at the time was that these big overhead, what we call pantograph systems and shark or dorsal fin type contactors, that was the way to go. There are some bus manufacturers that have electric buses where they're not designed for range. They have limited range, say like 30 or 40 miles. And so they incorporate those overhead chargers for quick, fast charging. Kind of like in our downtown Looper situation, it's just around and around and around, so they need a very quick charge. Our buses that we have are designed for both range. They do get about 180 miles on a state of charge, okay, but also for the capability for this opportunity charging, and that's why the inductive wireless comes in very handy. We don't need a lot of power to just top off our buses, because we do have a decent amount of range built into it. So that's why an inductive, one, it's seamless, it is quick for what we want it to do. Number two, it makes sense to have equipment below grade, under the ground. We do have flooding and storms, all right? So the less that is above ground, there's less maintenance to do, because everything is pretty much self-contained under the ground. So there's a lot of benefits as to why we chose this, and it has been used at other agencies, the AVTA that I mentioned, to very high levels of success.
Thank you.
I have a sense that somebody behind me has a question.
Sir.
Go ahead.
Quick question. I mean, this solution, does it make money for us, or it's a cost in a long-term perspective? So I want to understand, is it more expensive than a usual gasoline miles, where it's actually more expensive right now, but it eats the cost and becomes more profitable because we don't have so many spare parts.
So we're talking about electric buses in general?
Yeah, this specific electric bus that you are buying from a vendor compared to existing ones. Yeah.
Capital versus operating.
Yeah, so right now, there's about 5 bus manufacturers in North America that build all electric buses. And I can tell you that economics and competition have driven the cost of an electric bus down to be comparable amongst themselves, but also be comparable amongst what the incremental cost is for a diesel bus and of course what a diesel hybrid electric bus is, okay? So competition, that they are coming down, all right? They're getting less costly, all right? Now, as Cassandra mentioned, yes, it's capital versus operating. So while electric buses are a little bit more costly up front, okay, certainly infrastructure is a little costly up front, that in the long run, over the 12 years of operating an all-electric bus, and certainly with the inductive charging system that we have specified, that the O&M costs, operations and maintenance costs, will be reduced, right? So let's take the bus real quick. One, we do not have a combustion engine in it. We don't have fluids, and we don't have to deal with fuels, all right? So that being the main propulsion system in a fossil fuel vehicle, that's gone, and all the stuff that comes with it, all right? We have batteries. The batteries on these buses are rated at a half-life of approximately 13 to 15 years. Their full life is rated for 26. Obviously, there's a lot of efficiencies with having all-electric accessories on a bus, where if you, in a typical combustion-type vehicle, your AC system, your power steering systems, your hydraulic systems, those are all probably still belt-driven. When you electrify those accessories, you reduce the wear and tear, all right? So there's less O&M's cost. I can tell you that from PSTA standpoint, as members of the TRAC know, all-electric buses have been a natural step in our evolution here, right? We have the largest hybrid electric fleet in the state of Florida. We started with dual path parallel, all right? That was one of the first generations of hybrid technology. We migrated to the new 2018-19 buses that are series electric, which is basically a step before the all-electric, and now we have all-electric. So for the past 10 years, to answer your question, and this is where I think PSTA is positioned possibly a little bit better than, say, some of our colleagues in the transit industry, we have a 10-year track record of working with alternative forms of propulsion in the bus industry. Hybrid electric, now all electric. Our technicians have been trained. Our tooling is there. It has been there. Our parts have been there. So that demonstrated track record actually reduces even further those startup costs, those initial capital costs, because we did those years ago. So that's a very long answer.
The answer was yes.
I would have thought, yes, that would have been a good answer too. See that we needed a little more there.
Yeah.
Score.
This probably sounds like a really stupid
No.
question, but when you talk about that charging station, I have the crazy perceptions of water and electricity don't get along, and also what happens if somebody steps on it, you have visions of somebody doing bzz, 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 and I know
Bugs
that's
Bunny.
probably ridiculous, but how is that all protected from rain and people walking on it?
So the unit is rated for ice and snow, and especially buses driving over it and people standing on it. So we call that a plate. It is not actually a metal plate, all right? I won't get into the actual chemical composition of it, but that is a self-contained unit, all right? So with inductive charging, okay, we talk about electromagnetism, all right? You have a coil, the plate, you have a coil on the bus. what's happening is through electromagnetic fields, magnetism, it makes electrons in the air spin, all right, which creates electricity to go into the bus battery. There's no lightning bolts, there's no exposed wires, there's no, you know when you pull a plug out of a receptacle at home, you see that flash? That's not this. That's raw electricity in your home.
Isn't there electricity going into it to create the electromagnetic?
Yes, but that's all shielded. That is all shielded.
Well, it's the same as your phone or your toothbrush. That was a great, there's no spark on that because that's all the DC end. You plug that phone charger in the wall, that'll give you a spark when you plug
Right.
it. But the part where the phone is sitting is DC, there's no.
I did not have enough time for this meeting. I was going to actually build you a little example of a micro Tesla, or a Tesla coil, and I would have touched it with a light bulb and it would have glowed. Now, I didn't have enough time to do that today, but through the power of the internet, go look it up. If you feel like doing it, it's homemade, common supplies. You can do this while your friends and family for the holidays.
There's some days when I wish I was Henry's nephew. We'd have so much fun.
Some days, not all.
Yeah.
Nobody wishes that. All right, thank you, everyone.
My boys would have so much fun with it.
Nicole, would you please give us an overview of PSTA's preparation for last week's Great American Teach-In?
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you, Henry, for that very riveting electric charging. I don't think I was ever so interested in electric charging in my life.
I'm charged up.
Yeah, exactly. For those of you who don't know, my name is Nicole Dufa. I'm the public engagement planner, one of the public engagement planners here at PSTA, and I'm here today to tell you about PSTA's participation in the Great American Teach-In. So for those of you who don't know, the Great American Teach-In is sort of like a career day in the Tampa Bay area. It's a day for a lot of parents, maybe public service professionals, so I'm thinking the fire department, the police force, other folks, professionals who want to come in and teach students in our schools about their jobs, about their career, and what they do on a daily basis. So PSTA wanted to come in, and this year, we made a big effort. In years past, we participated, mostly the outreach team went out and taught students about riding the bus, how to ride the bus. Maybe a few staff members came out and presented to their children's schools. But this year, we wanted to make it a really big event. And so our focus for our participation this year was to really talk about the benefits of public transportation as a whole, the services that PSTA offers, because we're not just a bus company anymore. We offer many different services in addition to our fixed route, as well as the many types of jobs that we have here at PSTA, and some that are that you wouldn't even expect in public transportation. So we did a really big effort, and PSTA really showed up. We went to over 20 different schools here in Pinellas County. We had 26 staff members come out and talk about their jobs. We went from all the way Tarpon Springs down to South St. Pete. We brought out 3 different buses, actually, and went to several different schools with those buses. And for a lot of students, it was their first time on a city bus or their first time looking at their engine. So this was not the electric bus. We had our electric bus and a hybrid bus out as well. So we got to look at the back of the bus, the engine, the technology inside. So it was really cool. We actually reached over 1,500 students that day. So with the 20 different schools and the 26 staff, we had 1,500 students. And so it was a really exciting day for a lot of PSTA staff. Their first time presenting, public speaking, their first time talking about their jobs to students. So they really, really enjoyed the experience, and I've heard back from the schools that their students enjoyed the experience as well. And so we had a really successful first year doing the agency-wide effort, and we are hoping to do something larger, bigger, and better in next year and the years to come. So that was pretty much all I wanted to share with you today. these are just some pictures of our staff. So you saw we brought the bus out. We were at middle schools, high schools, and elementary schools. We had our electric bus out. We were presenting to the young kids, to the older kids. So we had our bus operators, we had directors out, so from all different levels of the agency as well. Any questions? If anyone's connected to schools that they'd like us to participate in next year, we love the suggestions. But thank you.
My head is busting with all this new knowledge. I'll be okay. I've got a lot of time to rest. It's time for member comments. And I'll go down side here. and
Last
come
meeting
up
of the year.
side. Anybody I'm missing behind me? Roman?
Yes.
You okay back there?
All I have to say is we will truly miss you.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Yes.
Thanks. Yeah, I've become a grown-up. You know, I've got a lot of people here insisting I behave like a grown-up. I appreciate it. Thank you. Other business over here?
Other business. I'm going to send out a reminder again. We're lagging on Track Star. We need to get out some Track Star awards. Once again, I'll say nobody has nominated Car Free St. Pete yet. It's low-hanging fruit, folks. So if you can, please do. Or others out there. There are a lot of neat things going on out there. And now I want to give out some thank yous and some awards for our volunteers, because we ask you to come out and volunteer with us, and we know it's taking of your time and some extra effort. So we have got some $10 Walmart gift cards for everyone who has come out and helped us. And Edwin, you came out to Open Street St. Pete on a very hot, humid day. Did anybody else go to Open Street St. Pete? Oh my God, we were melting. Yeah, that's right, Juan was there with me. What a
It was
day.
nice with the AR.
Thank you for your help.
EA thing, because they had those towels, and
Yes.
they were helpful for wiping the sweat off of it.
They were.
And you were there about twice as long as anyone, I think, so.
That's all right. I still don't melt at my age, I found out.
Obviously.
I keep hoping. Teresa, you helped twice on the outreach riding the Central Avenue trolley. Right. So thank you for going out. We had help. Elizabeth also was out there 3 times. So your parting gift, Elizabeth.
Thank you very
Some
much.
gift cards from PSTA. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for your help. Appreciate it.
That's really nice. Well, I'm surprised. I am sad to say, today's meeting is officially adjourned. Don't do it. Have a safe and happy holiday season, and remember, there is no track meeting in December. Enjoy the holidays. Next meeting is January 21st, 2020 at 4 p.m.
That was good. That was actually really
Staring at it most of the time.
Yeah, I had
It's
to.
well appointed.
I had to. It's done. That's fine.
There you go.